With a pair of great PlayStation Store sales running right now, in this video we're going to be once again taking a look at 10 great deals available right now. All of these deals are under $10, and I do have to say these are more niche downloadable titles, so if you're expecting your typical big budget PlayStation 4 game, you're not going to find it here. However, if you do want creative and innovative games, stay tuned because we're going to mention a lot of those. So without further ado, let's get right into it, and we're going to start things off with ICEY for $5.99. ICEY is a 2D side-scrolling action game that many will compare to games such as Mega Man, but it's definitely got its own flavor and it's got a great art style, a very unique story. The only downside to ICEY is it is a relatively short game, but for the short experience it does offer, it's very, very good. And now that it's down to just $5.99 for what you're getting, I would say it's very worth it. Next up, we have Magicka II for $4.49. In terms of cooperative game experiences, Magicka offers some of the most fun you are ever going to have. Not that it takes itself all too seriously and it's this absorbing experience, but because it's absolutely chaotic. The main reason being because all of the friendly fire. The gameplay itself is very good, it's a well-designed game, but going into it, make sure you have a group of friends to play it with and you are going to have a fantastic time. And at $4.49, I would say Magicka II is a good pickup.
Child needs saving. Up to 4 wizards were chosen to help save the world.
Oxenfree for $4.99. Oxenfree is a game that we've recommended several times in the past, and that's because it's a very good story-driven game. If you're familiar with games such as Telltale's experiences, Oxenfree is gonna feel right at home to you. It is presented in a very different style, but it's story-driven all the same. It's a great art style, and it's a fantastic coming-of-age story that's very relatable. Again, if you're into story-driven games at $4.99, Oxenfree is a must-own.
Her radio is because you can sometimes pick up frequencies to stations that don't exist.
See, this island's pretty cool, right?
You used to come here a lot as a kid, right? To the island. I mean that's what Ren made it sound like.
Yeah, but I mean...
You used to come here a lot as a kid, right? You used to come here a lot as a kid.
Something's wrong.
Next up, we've got Saints Row 4 Re-Elected for $5.99. Saints Row is another title that doesn't take itself all too seriously. Yes, it is often compared to Grand Theft Auto, but Saints Row is a little bit more wacky, a little bit more zany, and that's good. It differentiates itself from Grand Theft Auto, and what you're gonna find is a game that you can always pop in and always have some fun with, but it's not a game you're gonna get absolutely absorbed into the world and characters. Thankfully, now that Saints Row 4 is super cheap at $5.99, I would say it's a bargain.
Experience you've come to know and love. Reborn and ready to kick you in the nuts on your fancy new gaming system with literally hundreds of thousands of extra pixels. Count them and see. Or wait till someone on the internet does it for you. Look at all this dick kicking. Look! But we're not done yet. If you call in the next 3 milliseconds and get either Saints Row 4 Re-Elected or double pack.
Next up, for all of you that love horror games, the Amnesia Collection is down to $8.99. This includes both Amnesia titles in Amnesia: The Dark Descent and Amnesia: A Machine for Pigs. Now, Amnesia: The Dark Descent is a fantastic game. It's one of the most iconic horror games of all time, and it really brought back the horror genre to the forefront years ago. It's a very atmospheric game, and it really embodies that sense of horror. Amnesia: A Machine for Pigs, not quite as good as The Dark Descent, but an okay game in its own right, and you get both of these titles for $8.99. I would say that's a pretty good deal.
Pay attention, Daniel. It's important that you keep going straight and make sure not to stray.
Still having nightmares, I see. Speaking of horror games, Soma is down to $8.99, and Soma is actually done by the same guys that did Amnesia and Frictional Games, and I would say that Soma is a better game than Amnesia. Some may disagree with me on that, but I really enjoyed Soma. The game itself is set on an underwater remote research facility called Pathos 2. Machinery begins to take human characteristics, and you have to find out the mystery behind all of this. What I really like about Soma, and this goes for Amnesia 2, is it's a game that's light on the combat, and once again, it really has that sense of horror and invokes it very well. Very atmospheric, and the story is great in Soma. The artistic design is on point. At $8.99, if you want a good horror game, Soma is another one to check out. Next up, we have Nex Machina for $7.99. Nex Machina is a game done by Finnish studio Housemarque, and they are one of the most underrated game studios in the world today. They've done some fantastic PlayStation downloadable titles such as Super Stardust HD, Dead Nation, Resogun. More recently, they also put out Matterfall and this game, Nex Machina. Nex Machina is a shoot 'em up that is very difficult, but it's also incredibly satisfying. It's got a great visual style like all of Housemarque's games, and it's just a very well presented game. At $7.99, maybe still a little expensive for a twin-stick shooter, but I would still highly recommend it. It's just as good, if not the best of all of Housemarque's games, which is saying a lot. Next up, we have one of the most iconic indie games of all time. Rogue Legacy is down to $5.09. Rogue Legacy really embodies the greatness of roguelike games. It has you run through procedurally generated castles, and this game is so addicting and so replayable. While it is only $5.09, this is a game you can legitimately put 100 hours into because of how fun it is, how engaging it is, how rewarding it is. There's 10 different classes in the game, over 60 different enemies, and a lot of variety to the content as well. It's just a game that, while a bit difficult, it'll always keep you invested, and now that it's down to $5.09, there's a reason why this game has been received so well. If you've yet to check it out, you have to do so, especially at this price. Moving on from one iconic indie game to another, the Trine Trilogy is down to $8.99. Everybody's been talking about Trine for a very long time. This is one of the most successful indie game franchises ever, and now with the Trine Trilogy, you get all three Trine games: Trine Enchanted Edition, Trine 2 Complete Story, and Trine 3 The Artifacts of Power. The games themselves combine action, puzzles, platforming, set in a storybook-like world filled with strange machinery, dangerous foes, and beautiful sights. And I have to say that the design and visuals of this game top-notch. Now, I do also have to say that while Trine and Trine 2 are very good games, Trine 3 left a lot to be desired. Not as good as the first two titles, still an okay game in its own right, but considering you get all three games at the price that you do at $8.99, I would say that the Trine Trilogy is a very worthwhile buy. And lastly, I want to give a mention to Nidhogg 2 for $5.99. I should also mention that Nidhogg 1 is on sale for $5.24. So if you do want to save a little bit of money, you can go with that, but I would just grab Nidhogg 2. At that price, it's very good. And what is the game? It's a fast-paced two-player dueling game where two players sword fight in a side-scrolling environment. You can run, jump, slide, throw your swords, and fist fight. On the surface, this game looks very, very simplistic, but I assure you that there is a level of depth to it. You can master 4 different weapons, and it's just fun figuring out all of the nuances of the game. There are 8-player tournaments, full character customizations, 10 stages, and of course you can go online as well as play locally. For just $5.99, if you want a different style of fighting game, Nidhogg and Nidhogg 2 will have you covered. Again, Nidhogg 1 is $5.24, Nidhogg 2 $5.99. So that's gonna conclude this video. All of these deals, again, available on the PlayStation Store right now under $9.99. These are very good deals, and I would recommend you to check them out, even though they might be games that look a bit quirky to you from the start. I assure you they are very good games. That's gonna conclude this one. Sound off with your thoughts in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.